Capital is abundant. Understanding is scarce. The Dynamo Show goes deep with the new industrialists rejuvenating industry and commerce. Brought to you by Dynamo Ventures. Learn more at dynamo.vc/podcast. Now, here's your host, Madeline O'Farrell.
Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Madeline O'Farrell, and we are joined today by Phoebe Tan. Phoebe, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Phoebe, I'd love to just start with your background. You're the founder of Taelor. Could you walk us through your journey to becoming this founder?
For me, I was in the corporate world for almost 16 years. It's a long time. I always want to start my own company, just never the right time, right? I have a lot of great ideas until a few years ago, my co-founder now approached me and we decided to start our first venture together, Taelor. So Anya and I, we met back in Chicago when we went to, when we got our MBA at Chicago both. So we've known each other a long time. So we decided to start Taelor. A lot of people ask, why Taelor? Right? Because both of us, we've been using clothing rental services such as Rent the Runway for a long time. For myself, I haven't bought new clothes from any retail store for the past 10 years. And I always use the rental services, and it works perfectly for my lifestyle. I'm very picky when it comes to fashion. It's a brilliant idea. I don't have to buy every single piece. I'm also a minimalist, so it just fits my lifestyle perfectly. And you don't have to buy, you don't have to, decide what you want to own. And then you can try different styles. That's why you can look fabulous all the time with the rental service. That's why a few years back when we decided to start our own venture, we studied the space and we realized that, wow, there are companies out there like Rent the Runway, been around for a while. The new companies, newly started 5 years ago, they're already profitable, reaching 500 million in revenue, growing like crazy. So the circular landscape is changing, newly 5 years ago, Rent the Runway 16 years ago, right? We definitely see the movement, see the trend, see the growing trend, and specifically white men, because the problem that we want to solve is we want to make the circularity of the rental resale journey seamless through AI. That when we, first did a lot of focus group studies, interviews, we realized, there's no such service actually for men, and they need the most help.
And to bring our listeners up to speed, could you give us more detail on what exactly Taelor is and how it works?
Yeah. So Taelor works like Netflix for outfits, right? So we are a two-sided platform. On one side, on the consumer side, we help busy professional men to look great with our AI styling and recommendation. And it's a rental model. Basically, they pay a fixed monthly subscription fee. They receive complete outfits, usually 2 to 3 outfits in a shipment, and they can wear the clothes for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, up to them. And whenever they're ready, they can return the clothes. Anything they love, they can buy at a deep discount, and the whole process repeats. So for them, no more shopping, no more laundry. It's almost like having a personal stylist. Style you, pick for you, and then you can also interact with our stylist. On the supply side, right, where do we get our clothes? We also partner with international brands from all over the world. They want to get into the markets. They want to get into the resale, the rental, the circular markets. But it's very unlikely and it's very costly for them to suddenly invest in a new business model, right? They can just partner with us, tap into the circular model, and expand their customer base, right? Because we attract different customers, and then at the same time they can monetize the inventory, receive a lot of feedback, and the feedback helps them produce better products, which I can explain later. So we essentially become a one-stop shop for clothing brands from all over the world to monetize their inventory to help them produce better clothes. Right, our mission is to become a platform. They make looking great seamless for guy, and also for clothing brands, right, to enable them to um, monetize their inventory, extend the life of every garment.
Love that. And clearly, Taylor is redefining sort of how men consume retail goods in a more circular fashion. How do you think about how these circular systems can fundamentally change kind of the architecture of traditional supply chains from sourcing to reverse logistics?
Yeah, I think it is very different because in a circular model, right, the business model is different, the monetization model is different. Fundamentally, if you look at our inventory, right, so we look at every single garment as a recurring revenue asset, right? Whereas a traditional retail, it's a one-time sales transaction. When it's done, right? So for that reason, the circularity, right, help us to decide, and monetization help us to decide how we, will design our engine, from sourcing, for example, right? And if we definitely want to source high quality garment that give us the highest lifetime value, right? In our case, is how many rental, right? We cannot have clothes that only good for two rental and completely ruined, damaged. It's not good for the environment. We're not going to make any money. So long-lasting, high-quality fabrication, design style, that's very, very helpful. That's why we focus when we go out there, talk to brands, right? And then at the same time, how we design our system, our operating system, inventory, right? Because right now we look at inventory differently. So we look at inventory in terms of life cycle, from new, to used, right? And we definitely have to monitor the number of rental, number of use, damage, repair, quality overall, right? That inventory status life cycle is really important. That's also part of our inventory design, because also utilization. Right, because in a typical retail world, you don't talk about utilization after the sales transaction. It's totally out of the control, right? In our case, we have to consider the every value change, build the reverse supply chain, in a sense, a value chain internally that help us to optimize the life of every single garment. And that means, yeah, we have to track every touch point, right? We have to know where everything is, how we can maximize the inventory, and then so give us a feedback loop, that it will help us to source better, right? And then customer also get the best inventory, high quality inventory. I think that's definitely very different, yeah, from a traditional inventory system.
And this inventory system that you highlight as being really central to how the model functions. I'm curious, it's AI driven, clearly very technologically advanced. What were some of the big breakthroughs you had in designing the system, and what were some of the big challenges?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Because our business model, right, we usually don't work with a single brand. Right now, we have over 100 clothing brands from all over the world, right? As we know, in fashion, there's really not much sizing standardization. Even within the US brands, you may have a lot of brands may run different sizing, you know, um, like the brand Bonobos that have 6 different fits on the top, right? Like recently we worked with one brand, nudie jeans. They have 11 fits for their jeans, right? So I think there's a lot of data points. So we use embedded garment uh, technology, right, to help us identify AI technology help us identify all the different product attributes. So many different product attributes that they can they help us to mix and match, different outfits with the different identified attributes, colors, the neckline, different fabrics, right? And then put together the outfits and also pair with customer preferences, their profile, their age, right? And on top of that, yeah, because our rental model, we get a lot of customer feedback, unbiased customer feedback, right? We are so traditional e-commerce, right? You get feedback, reviews from our customers, but that's very rare. Usually, it's influenced by the price, or they either love it or hate it. In our case, because we are very service oriented, you know, uh, our customer wants to give us very honest feedback so that they can get better shipment the next time. It's only work for them if they give us, their true feedback. For that reason, the feedback, whether it's about the garment, fits, style, right, quality, that specific feedback data point is really important. They help us look back into our AI algorithm, and then we can uh, mix and match, pair different products, continue to optimize the performance, and make sure that we continue to improve our customer satisfaction with better shipment.
I'd love to double click on some of the reverse logistic capabilities that you've highlighted. Circular models depend on a really fast turnaround. And I'm curious how you've designed a reverse logistics system that can work as you scale and not break under the weight of that scale, if you will.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think from the get go, we have that in mind, right? How can we build a system that's scalable? Because in this model, as complex as it is, you have the rental model, you have the resale model, right? You have the laundry operation, fulfillment operation. It's very complex, right? So it's almost like for people to understand operation, right? You have fulfillment operation, you have laundry operation, right? The reverse logistic in our business, right? You have selling and renting new clothes, and also resale operation included. So it's definitely more complex than the typical business. For that reason, yeah, I think in the beginning, when we first raised our first pre-seed round, which we closed a few $1 million, that's where we decided to invest and build a foundation for Taylor. And we build the AI, yeah, build our own operation. We call operation system, right? That's power our whole operation end to end, track inventory as well. So I think having the right technology and tools, right, from the get go, and that address every single touch point, and really understand every single touch point, how you can streamline and automate, right, and reduce this decision making friction, especially, yeah, for different level employee skill sets. I think that's really, really important. So my background, yeah, used to work for airline catering business. It's also very complex food business, right? So food operation is super complex. So that's how we to really focus on breaking down processes, different touch point, and it's a lot of, I think, continuous improvement process, and as we design our system, and really focus on technology and AI throughout.
You touched on some of that operational complexity that you had exposure to in your prior roles. You've overseen hundreds of millions in spend at some of the most operationally complex companies in the world, Amazon Go, Singapore Airlines, and I'm curious how those experiences informed how you approach what you're building at Taylor.
Yeah, I think big company, they're really good at teaching discipline, right? Having the right SOPs, you know, really study the pinpoint, the processes, and then you build the SOPs around, and that's really practical and helpful. Especially in the beginning for Taylor, as small as it is. But I also believe, yeah, every business is different. Our Taylor business model is so different, but those disciplines, how really help me to look at problems, processes differently, and really focus on scaling. Right? I think it's really easy to build something when it's very small, but to build it, in a way that is scalable. Yeah, I think that's a challenge. That's the biggest challenge. Also requires some investment too, right? And with my previous experience, yeah, even though yes, I work for bigger company, much bigger company, but also had the experience of leading 0 to 1 projects, right? So that really helped me, to really focus on how to build a 0 to 1 um, project. Startups. Yeah, it's a perfect situation, right? That means yeah, we really deep dive on the pain points, and and uh, and I always say this, and so my team really focus on 80/20 rules. You cannot tackle every single problem at the same time because yeah, resources are not balanced, right? So I think really focus on where we can see the biggest impact, and that will decide how we want to allocate our resources accordingly, right? And also at the same time, with that kind of discipline, we are able to see impact. We are able to see result very quickly.
That makes a lot of sense. Earlier, you touched on the data that you have access to by virtue of the transactions that you're conducting, and I'm curious what data around resale or rental patterns are revealing to you about consumer expectations.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier because our rental model, we do rental and styling oriented, service oriented uh, business model. We do get a lot of unbiased customer feedback on data. So right now we use the information to help us to continue to improve our AI, better selection, better matching outfitting for our customers, right? That's super, super important. And then at the same time, the data that we receive also, we also share with our clothing brands. And they truly value this data. This is something that we actually learn. Oh, because in the beginning we thought, okay, Taylor is just another distribution for them to sell their clothes. And later we learned that no, we are not just another channel. So they really value our customer feedback, what our customers say about their products. So because it's very rich unbiased data, so that will help them to produce better, garments, right? We have a brand that we work with in Taiwan. They recently launched a new uh, denim material, new collection. So the feedback that we give them is, a lot of customers say the material is very stiff, it's very uncomfortable. You know, before they receive the feedback, they're actually thinking of expanding the collection. But after they've read the review, they decided to, find a better material, right? That's really important. That's the part that we plan to monetize the data, to the suppliers, to the brands, right? And then at the same time, it help us to make better decision, buying decision, sourcing decision, and it's a performance loop that's in our system, and ultimately, a better products for our customers.
Appreciate that. I'm curious as you look 5 to 10 years ahead, what is going to have the biggest impact on the shift towards circularity, whether it's consumer trends or technologies, and how do you view Taylor fitting it within that landscape?
Mm. I really think the um, access over ownership. it will continue to change, right? Who say we have to own everything? That's a very traditional mindset. I have to have this, I have to have that, right? So, the sharing economy, it's booming, changing every single industry, right? In the past, if you tell someone, hey, don't drive your own car, share the car with somebody else. Hey, don't sleep in the hotel, sleep at someone else's house, right? It's very strange, but it's not strange anymore. I think with clothes, right? I think when we talk to people, we get this. Do guys really want to rent clothes, right? I think that's usually, it's more traditional. But no, they care about they care about convenience. Convenience, saving time is more important whether or not I own this clothes. In fact, it's given me a lot of flexibility. I don't have to buy. I don't have to, decide, is it worth it? How long can I wear it, right? I think convenient definitely continue to lead, the consumer trend, the whole system. And then at the same time, personalization. I think with AI application, growing, improving, advancing so rapidly, right? You see personalization in the consumer space everywhere, every touch points, right? How we consume, how we shop is different. Today, you go to any e-commerce site, I want to buy sweater. You go to Sword and Future, right? Still very traditional, but with personalization, you just do a prompt looking something to Hawaii, right? Just give you, the perfect outfits. I think that's definitely important. And for I think a lot of company, I think they will also start thinking about the reverse logistic circularity in their business model, right? Because consumers are smarter. They if they buy, they also want to sell. It's not a one-time transaction, right? So they think about value. They think about, okay, how can I make money out of the products, right? I think this whole circular model will expand, will accelerate, in terms of growth, right, over the next 5-10 years, for sure. So companies, need to start thinking about, making reverse logistics circular model as part of their core and growth strategy. And as for Taylor, for us, we will continue to improve on our AI adoption, and right now we are using the AI more as our internal tool, right? So we are working on a module that's it's more customer front, right? The AI personalization styling that customers can use it. They can have fun with it, play with it, right? And at the same time, we are working with companies, B2B to C, B2B market channel, and that Taylor will become their employees' wardrobe, right? And some employees' benefits. So we partner with companies. So definitely bringing the circular model, to the corporate world as well. And I think that because our technology, right, our operating system and AI, so we're thinking Taylor can become an API to a lot of brands, a lot of retailers, right, especially for their AI personalization, styling as well.
How do you think about the opportunity for the sharing economy for goods specifically beyond maybe apparel? I think about, does it make sense for every home within a neighborhood to have a lawnmower, for example, right? And so what would the world look like if we were sharing goods that maybe we use a little bit more infrequently? And I'm curious if you have a perspective there.
Personally, I'm a big believer in that. Resource sharing. It's very smart. Resource sharing happened long time ago in the ancient world. People trade products, right? You only trade things that you have, but you have access with others. Oh, I think that's how that's a more sustainable world. Yeah, I really believe that. Of course, not every single thing, right? And I just really think about the benefits to the consumer, to the society, to the environment as a whole, if the overall value, overall benefits makes more sense and it's greater than having individual ownership, right? I think it makes sense. So you can transform a lot of products more than apparel. I mean, it's already changing, the hotel industry, right? Changing the music industry, changing, the auto industry, right? Fashion industry. Yeah, it will continue to expand.
Really appreciate the thoughts there. As our last segment here, we'll do kind of this or that. So I'll give you kind of two options, and in 20 seconds or less, if you could tell me which you would pick. First question here is, how do you think about building internal tech versus partnering for tech?
Yeah, I think it depends. I don't think you have to build everything internally. If you can leverage, very well established system out there that can help you to accelerate your growth, why not, right? I mean, every investment requires capital, and building something takes a lot of time and learning, right? Especially building something brand new and from scratch. So if something is established, and at the same time, if it's not something that's core for your business, right? Yes, outsource, but something that's core for your business, that's like your secret source. Maybe, like OpenAI, right? That's something that they built from scratch. That's your secret source. So it really depends on the business.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay, do you think circular fashion will become mainstream in 5 years or 15 years?
In 5 years, I mean, specific industry, I think fashion for sure.
I think I agree with that. I live on the Lower East Side in New York, and it feels like there's a new kind of secondhand or thrift store every single day on my block. So can
Wow.
definitely see that trend happening.
Because
Uh,
you see a lot of circular platforms coming up.
mhm.
Every single day I hear something new, right? So when you have a lot of access, like a lot of technologies available, then consumers are very smart. Oh, now suddenly everyone is selling the secondhand clothes.
Mhm. Exactly. Well, Phoebe, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you to our listeners for joining as well. We'll see you next time.
See, one last thing for the listener. So
Oh, please.
holidays is here, so you can apply podcast 25 to get a 25 discount on our subscription.
Amazing. Well, Phoebe, thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, leave us a 5-star review and tell us what you liked. And be sure to head over to podcast.dynamo.vc to keep up to date with our latest content, or subscribe on the podcast platform of your choice. Until next time.